The small research ship drifted silently through the darkness of the Orion sector. Dr. Eliza Morgan pressed her face against the viewport, watching as the uncharted planet grew larger. Its surface was mostly blue oceans with patches of green and brown landmasses. Cloud systems swirled across its atmosphere. "We shouldn't be here," said First Officer Ben Harris, checking the scanners nervously. "This sector is forbidden for a reason." Eliza ignored him, focused on the energy readings on her tablet. "Those signals are artificial, Ben. Something down there is still running after thousands of years." The Commonwealth research vessel, Stellar Horizon, carried a crew of 12, all scientists except for the pilot, and 2 security officers. They had been cataloging extinct civilizations when Eliza detected strange energy patterns coming from this unnamed world. Director Walsh had explicitly ordered them to avoid investigation, but Eliza convinced the crew to make a quick, unauthorized stop. "Final approach," announced pilot Samantha Wells from the cockpit. "Entering orbit in 3 minutes." Eliza gathered her equipment. At 42, she was the Commonwealth's leading xenorchaeologist, with 20 years of experience uncovering lost civilizations. But nothing in her career had prepared her for what her instruments were detecting. "The energy signature is unlike anything in our database," she explained to the gathered crew. "It's been running continuously for at least 5,000 years. Security Officer Ryan Davis frowned. "That's impossible. No power source lasts that long." "Exactly," Eliza said, eyes bright with excitement. "Which means someone built something remarkable." The landing craft touched down in a valley surrounded by tall mountains. The air was breathable but thin. Eliza led the small exploration team across rocky terrain until they reached what appeared to be a simple cave entrance. "The readings are strongest inside," she said, adjusting her equipment. Ryan stepped forward, hand on his weapon. "I'll go first." The cave extended only 20 meters before ending at a smooth metal wall. It was perfectly flat, made of an unknown silver-gray material with no visible seams or openings. "What is it?" asked Ben, running his hand across the surface. Eliza scanned it carefully. "It's a door. And it's been waiting for visitors." As if responding to her words, a thin line appeared in the center of the wall. The line widened, revealing darkness beyond. Cool air rushed out, carrying the smell of machinery and something else, something organic. "We should call the ship," Ryan suggested, but Eliza was already stepping through. Beyond the door was a massive underground complex. Lights activated automatically as they walked, illuminating corridors that stretched in all directions. The walls were covered with intricate designs that seemed to tell stories of battles and journeys among the stars. "This architecture doesn't match any known species," Ben whispered, documenting everything with his recorder. They followed the main corridor until it opened into an enormous chamber. Eliza gasped. The room extended for kilometers in every direction, filled with rows upon rows of oval-shaped pods. "There must be thousands," Ryan said, shining his light into the distance where more pods disappeared into shadow. Eliza approached the nearest pod. Its surface was transparent, revealing a human figure inside. A man with pale skin and dark hair, appearing to be peacefully asleep. "Impossible," Ben breathed. "Humans have been extinct for millennia." "Not extinct," Eliza corrected, checking readings on each pod. "They're in stasis, perfect suspended animation." She moved from pod to pod, finding more humans, different ages, genders, and ethnicities, all perfectly preserved, all appearing to be simply sleeping. According to Commonwealth history, humans nearly conquered the galaxy before the elder races contained them, Ryan said quietly. They were quarantined on their homeworld after the human wars. Everyone thought they died out. Eliza shook her head in wonder. They didn't die. They waited. She approached what appeared to be a control console. Strange symbols glowed softly on its surface. Despite Commonwealth warnings about the dangers of human technology, her curiosity overwhelmed her caution. She pressed her hand against the console. The room came alive. Lights brightened throughout the chamber. A soft hum filled the air as ancient machinery activated after 5,000 years of dormancy. "What did you do?" Ben asked, alarmed. Before Eliza could answer, the nearest pod began to open with a gentle hiss. The beast was awakening. The pod opened with a soft hiss. Cold mist spilled out and spread across the floor. Inside, the man's eyelids flickered. His chest rose and fell with deeper breaths. Dr. Eliza Morgan stepped back, both excited and afraid. "What have you done?" Ben whispered, backing away slowly. The man in the pod sat up suddenly. His eyes snapped open. Sharp, clear blue eyes that scanned the room with military precision. He was tall and muscular, wearing a black uniform with faded insignia on the shoulders. "Commonwealth," he said in a rough voice, spotting their uniforms. Without warning, he leaped from the pod with surprising speed for someone who had been asleep for thousands of years. Ryan reached for his weapon, but the man was faster. In one fluid motion, he disarmed Ryan and pinned him to the ground. "Wait," Eliza shouted, raising her hands. "We're not enemies." The man held Ryan down but looked at Eliza. "Identify yourself and your purpose here." "I'm Dr. Eliza Morgan, synorchaeologist with the Galactic Commonwealth. We're researchers, not soldiers." The man's eyes narrowed. "Commonwealth? Never heard of it." He glanced around at the thousands of pods. "How many years?" "Your kind has been gone for 5,000 years, Ben said carefully. "Humans are considered extinct." The man released Ryan and stood up straight. "Commander Jack Reeves, Earth Defense Force." He rubbed his temples as if fighting a headache. 5,000 years. Ryan retrieved his weapon but didn't point it at Jack. "According to history, humans were quarantined after the war. The records say your species died out." Jack laughed bitterly. "Is that what they teach now? We didn't die. We chose this." Eliza approached him slowly. "Why?" Jack walked unsteadily to the control console. His fingers moved across the surface with practiced ease despite his long sleep. Screens lit up showing star maps and data in an unfamiliar language. "The Alliance united against us. 7 major species formed a blockade around Earth and our colonies." Jack's voice was flat as he recalled ancient history. "We couldn't win through force, so we chose to wait them out." "Wait them out?" Ben asked. "For how long?" "As long as necessary." Jack gestured to the rows of pods. "Earth's best minds, soldiers, leaders, millions preserved until the galaxy forgot about us." Eliza's scientific curiosity overcame her fear. "The stasis technology is remarkable. Nothing known to the Commonwealth comes close to this level of preservation." Jack nodded. "Dr. Karen Hughes developed it. She's in Section 12. He pointed deeper into the facility. "We knew some would need to wake first. Assess the situation before waking everyone." The console beeped softly. Jack frowned at the readings. "There's a ship in orbit." "Yours?" "Yes, the Stellar Horizon," Eliza confirmed. "A research vessel." Jack pressed more buttons, bringing up exterior cameras. "No, there's another ship approaching. Not Commonwealth design." Ryan moved to look at the screen. "That's a Volteri stealth cruiser. They must have followed us." "Volteri?" Jack asked. "One of the elder races," Ben explained quickly. "They hold significant power in the Senate." Jack's expression darkened. "The Volteri led the Alliance against us. They feared human expansion more than any other species." A warning alarm sounded throughout the facility. On the screen, they watched the Volteri ship open fire on the Stellar Horizon. The research vessel had no chance against the military cruiser. It exploded in a bright flash. "No," Eliza cried. "The crew." Jack was already moving, typing rapidly on the console. "They're scanning for life signs. They'll find this facility soon." "What do we do?" Ryan asked, shocked by the sudden destruction of their ship. "Wake the others," Jack said firmly. "I need Laura Winters and General Russell immediately." He looked at Eliza. Your Commonwealth may not remember, but the Volteri clearly haven't forgotten what humans are capable of. Deep within the facility, more pods began the awakening sequence. They wanted us gone forever, Jack said, watching as the first additional pods opened. Instead, they just gave us time to evolve. More pods hissed open throughout the massive chamber. Jack moved quickly between them, helping disoriented humans to their feet. Eliza watched in amazement as men and women who had slept for 5 millennia began to move, speak, and adjust to their new reality. The Volteri cruiser is deploying landing craft, Ryan reported, watching the security feeds. We have maybe 20 minutes before they reach the entrance. A slender woman with short gray hair emerged from one of the pods. She stumbled slightly, and Jack rushed to steady her. "Laura," he said gently, "wake up. We need you." Dr. Laura Winters blinked several times before recognition dawned in her eyes. "Jack, is it time?" "Not exactly according to plan," Jack replied. "We have visitors and hostiles inbound." Laura nodded, quickly regaining her composure. She noticed Eliza and the others. "Commonwealth. The insignia is unfamiliar." "A new galactic government," Eliza explained, "formed long after your time." Another pod opened, revealing an older man with a stern face and military bearing. He stood without assistance, immediately surveying his surroundings. "General Russell," Jack said with a respectful nod. "Situation report. Volteri forces approaching. They destroyed the Commonwealth research vessel in orbit." The general's eyes narrowed. "So our old friends remember us. How many awake?" 12 so far," Jack answered. "I've prioritized key personnel." A young woman joined them, her dark hair tied back. "Communication systems are online, sir. I'm Olivia Patel, communications specialist," she added for Eliza's benefit. General Russell took command naturally. "Secure the entrance. Wake the Alpha team in Section 3. Winters, assess our technology status." Ben looked alarmed. "You're preparing for combat. There are only a handful of you against a Volteri strike force." The general smiled grimly. "Son, humans fought against worse odds before we went to sleep. We'll manage." Olivia worked at a console, bringing up more screens. "I'm intercepting their communications. They're calling for reinforcements. A Senate representative named Krell is demanding immediate sterilization of the facility." "Sterilization?" Eliza gasped. "They want to kill everyone still sleeping." "Of course they do," Laura said calmly, checking systems on her own screen. "The Volteri always feared us. Not for what we did, but for what we might become." On the security feeds, they watched as Volteri troops approached the cave entrance. They moved with precision, setting up energy weapons aimed at the entrance. "The facility has defenses," Jack explained, activating another console. "They've been dormant for millennia, but they should still work." "What kind of defenses could possibly last that long?" Ryan asked skeptically. As if in answer, the ground outside the cave entrance trembled. The Volteri troops hesitated. Suddenly, metallic shapes burst from the soil, automated defense drones that had been buried and waiting for 5,000 years. They swarmed the surprised Volteri, forcing them back. "That will only slow them down," General Russell said. "We need to secure our most vulnerable systems and prepare for evacuation." "Evacuation?" Ben asked. "To where?" Laura pointed to another section of the facility map. "The hibernation ships, deep underground, fully fueled and waiting. We always had a contingency plan." Olivia looked up from her console. "The Volteri commander is contacting someone called the Galactic Senate. He's telling them they've confirmed active humans and requesting permission for orbital bombardment." "We don't have much time," Jack said. "Dr. Morgan, we need your help. You understand this new galaxy. We don't." Eliza hesitated only briefly. "What you're asking is treason against the Commonwealth." "The Commonwealth just watched as the Volteri destroyed your ship and killed your friends," General Russell reminded her. "Whose side are you really on?" More pods were opening across the chamber. Soon dozens of humans stood ready, receiving quick briefings from the first awakened. Despite just emerging from millennia of sleep, they moved with purpose and discipline. "We need to wake more," Jack said. 5,000 should be enough to operate the ships and protect the sleepers. Eliza made her decision. "I'll help you. The Commonwealth must hear the truth about what happened 5,000 years ago." Outside, the first wave of Volteri forces regrouped for another assault. They had no idea what they had awakened after 5 millennia of peace. The ground shook as the first Volteri bombs struck the mountain above the facility. Dust fell from the ceiling. Warning lights flashed throughout the chambers. "They've started orbital bombardment," Olivia reported, her fingers flying across the console. "They're targeting the mountain range, trying to collapse the cave systems." General Russell remained calm. "Activate the shield generators, Jack." Dr. Winters, status of the hibernation ships. Laura studied the readouts. Power systems at 83% after all this time. Remarkable. 4 ships are ready for launch. Each can hold 500,000 sleepers. Eliza watched in amazement as more humans awakened and took their stations. Unlike the Commonwealth citizens who might panic in such a crisis, these people from Earth's past worked with practiced efficiency. There were now over 100 awake, organizing into teams with minimal instructions. "The stasis pods are connected to a central system," Laura explained to Eliza. "We can transfer most sleepers to the ships without waking them, but the process takes time." Another explosion, closer this time. The lights flickered. "Shield generators online," Jack announced as a soft hum filled the facility. "They won't hold forever against sustained bombardment, but they'll buy us time." Ben pointed at the security feeds. More Volteri ships entering orbit. "They're bringing in a battle cruiser." General Russell turned to Eliza. "Is there anyone in your Commonwealth who would speak for us? Anyone who would listen?" "The Science Council might," Eliza said. "They value knowledge above politics. If they knew the truth about what happened 5,000 years ago, they might intervene." Olivia looked up. "I can try to access their communication networks, but I'll need to understand their protocols." "I'll help," Ben offered, moving to her station. Jack led Eliza through corridors filled with rushing humans, deeper into the facility. They entered a massive chamber where engineers worked on huge cylindrical ships embedded in the rock walls. "The hibernation fleet," Jack explained, "built to carry us to distant stars if Earth ever fell. We never needed them then, but they'll save us now." A violent explosion rocked the facility. Several ceiling panels crashed down, narrowly missing a group of technicians. "The shields are failing in Section 8, came Laura's voice over the communication system. "We need to speed up evacuation." Jack turned to a group of soldiers. "Get teams to Section 8. Portable shield generators from Storage Bay 12. "What can I do?" Eliza asked, feeling helpless amid such coordinated action. "Help us understand what we're facing," Jack replied. "The galaxy has changed. We need to know who might help us, who might destroy us." They hurried back to the command center where Laura and General Russell were reviewing holographic displays of the facility. "Power core stability at 60%, Laura reported. "Another direct hit could trigger a cascade failure." "We've established contact with the Commonwealth Science Council," Olivia announced. "They're in emergency session discussing the Volteri attack." "Let me speak to them," Eliza said, stepping forward. On the screen appeared the face of a stern-looking alien with pale blue skin. "Dr. Morgan, you were reported dead when the stellar horizon was destroyed." "Director Walsh," Eliza acknowledged. "I'm alive, and I've discovered the truth about humanity. They didn't die out after the war. They chose hibernation." "This is irrelevant," Walsh replied coldly. "The Volteri Senate representative has invoked ancient security protocols. The human containment must be maintained." "They lied to you," Eliza insisted. "The Volteri manipulated history. Humans weren't the aggressors. I've seen evidence." The transmission cut off as another explosion shook the facility. "They won't help us," General Russell said grimly. Just like 5,000 years ago, we're on our own. Laura looked up from her console. First hibernation ship is ready for launch. Transfer of stasis pods in progress. Jack checked a different screen. Defense systems in the upper levels are holding the Volteri ground forces back, but they'll break through eventually. How many humans can we wake in the next hour? General Russell asked. 5,000 maximum, Laura answered. Any more risks overloading life support? The general nodded. Wake them. Military personnel first, then engineers and pilots. We'll need every trained hand to operate the ships and protect the sleepers. Eliza watched as the awakened humans prepared for battle. They moved with purpose, adapting to the crisis with remarkable speed. 5,000 years of sleep, she murmured, and within hours they're ready to fight for survival. That's what made the Volteri fear us, Jack said beside her. Not our weapons or technology, but our adaptability. Our refusal to surrender. Deep within the mountain, the first hibernation ship powered up its engines, preparing to carry its precious cargo of sleeping humans to freedom. 5,000 years of sleep had not dulled human ingenuity. Within hours of awakening, the 5,000 selected soldiers and engineers transformed the ancient facility into a fortress. They modified old weapons with new techniques learned from examining Commonwealth and Volteri technology. The first hibernation ship is loaded and ready, Laura reported. Her hands moved quickly over the control panel. We've transferred nearly 100,000 sleepers. General Russell nodded. Launch as soon as the tunnels are clear. Use the old mountain passages to avoid their orbital sensors. Eliza watched in amazement as humans ran complex operations with minimal training on technology they had never seen before. Commonwealth citizens required months of instruction to operate new systems, yet these humans from the past simply adapted. How are they learning so quickly? She asked Jack as they hurried through a corridor filled with activity. An unexpected side effect of the stasis technology, Jack explained. While our bodies slept, our minds remained partially active in a shared dream state. For 5,000 years, we solved problems together, shared knowledge, and prepared for this day. A nearby console displayed the Volteri forces' positions. They had established a perimeter around the mountain, but seemed hesitant to push deeper into the facility after losing several squads to human defenders. They're calling for reinforcements, Olivia reported from communications. The Volteri commander sounds frightened. He's telling his superiors that humans are more dangerous than the histories claimed. Good, General Russell said with grim satisfaction. Fear will make them cautious. We need that time. The second hibernation ship was now being loaded with sleeping humans. Massive robotic arms gently transferred the stasis pods through underground tunnels. Each ship could carry 500,000 people, but the facility housed millions. We can't save everyone, Laura said quietly to Jack. Not in the time we have left. Jack's face tightened. We'll save as many as we can. A group of engineers approached with devices they had constructed from Commonwealth components, salvaged from Eliza's equipment. We've developed a countermeasure against Volteri scanning technology, the lead engineer explained. It creates false readings, making one human signature appear as background radiation. Implement it immediately, General Russell ordered. Priority on the hibernation ships and escape routes. Eliza helped Olivia establish more communication links to the outside galaxy. They managed to access public Commonwealth networks, where news of the human containment operation was already spreading. The Volteri are controlling the narrative, Eliza said bitterly. They're calling this a security operation against dangerous remnants of an extinct species. History repeating itself, Jack observed. 5,000 years ago, they turned the galaxy against us with similar lies. The facility shook again as Volteri forces renewed their bombardment. This time, the impacts were more focused, more precise. They've identified our power core location, Laura warned. Shields at 30% in that sector. A tactical display showed Volteri troops breaching the upper levels. Human defenders engaged them with surprising effectiveness. using ancient battle tactics the Volteri had never seen. Team 7 has captured Volteri weapons, came a report over the communication system, adapting them for human use now. General Russell studied the tactical display with narrowed eyes. They're pushing us toward Section 5, trying to cut off access to the launch bays. I have an idea, Jack said suddenly. He pulled up facility schematics on a nearby screen. The old maintenance tunnels under Section 3. They're not on any official plans. Eliza leaned in to study the map. You could flank their position. Exactly, Jack confirmed. Ryan, you know Volteri tactics. Will you help us? Ryan, who had been assisting with Commonwealth technology integration, nodded firmly. Their commander will focus on securing what he thinks is our escape route. He won't expect an attack from behind. Jack selected a team of 30 soldiers. They moved out quickly, disappearing into narrow maintenance shafts that hadn't been used in millennia. The first hibernation ship's engines powered up, the deep rumble vibrating through the mountain. Launch sequence initiated, Laura announced. Tunnel clearance confirmed. On the screens, they watched as massive rock doors opened in the side of the mountain, revealing the hidden launch bay. The hibernation ship rose slowly on ancient but still functional anti-gravity systems. Volteri ships are changing position, Olivia warned. They've detected the launch. Everyone held their breath as the massive ship cleared the mountain. For a moment, it seemed the Volteri would shoot it down. Then multiple explosions lit up the Volteri fleet as Jack's team successfully deployed their surprise attack. All ships, focus on the hibernation vessel. General Russell ordered through the communications link to the human defenders who had captured Volteri fighters. Give it cover to reach the jump point. The first ship accelerated, carrying 100,000 sleeping humans to safety. Behind it, the Awaken defenders fought with everything they had, showing the galaxy why humans had once been feared throughout the stars. News of the human awakening spread rapidly across the galaxy. The Commonwealth Senate called an emergency meeting. Some younger species argued for peaceful contact, while the elder races, led by the Volteri, demanded immediate action to contain what they called the ancient threat. In the mountain facility, Eliza and Ben worked with Olivia to broadcast their own message to the galaxy. They used Commonwealth channels that Eliza had access to, sending evidence of the attack on unarmed sleepers. We need allies, Jack said as they watched the second hibernation ship prepare for launch. Not everyone in this new galaxy can be against us. Screens around the command center displayed news from across Commonwealth space. Some worlds expressed sympathy for the humans. Others called for their immediate destruction. The Arcturan Federation is demanding a ceasefire, Olivia reported with a hint of hope. They say attacking sleeping beings violates galactic law. The Sirius Collective has offered sanctuary to human refugees, added Ben, who was monitoring a different channel. General Russell nodded. Both new powers that rose after our time. They don't carry the old prejudices. Laura approached with a data tablet. I've been analyzing Commonwealth technology from Eliza's equipment. There's evidence of deliberate suppression. What do you mean? Eliza asked. Your faster-than-light drives are nearly identical to designs from our time, Laura explained. 5,000 years with almost no advancement. That's not natural technological evolution. Jack looked grim. The Volteri. They've been holding the galaxy back. Another explosion rocked the facility. The third section of the mountain complex had been breached by Volteri forces. Human defenders fought back with modified weapons, but they were being pushed deeper into the facility. Second hibernation ship is fully loaded, a technician reported. Launch window in 5 minutes. On the tactical displays, Jack's team had successfully disrupted Volteri communications and destroyed 2 of their orbital gun platforms. This created a gap for the second ship to escape. I found something, Ben called out suddenly. He had been searching through Commonwealth historical archives, records from the early formation of the Commonwealth. There's a reference to the Volteri custodian ship. Eliza looked over his shoulder. I've never seen these documents before. They're restricted to Senate-level clearance. The records reveal that the Volturi had positioned themselves as protectors of the galaxy after the human wars. They claimed to be safeguarding civilization against dangerous technologies, the same technologies humans had been developing. They've been controlling technological development for 5 millennia, Laura said, scanning the documents, keeping everyone dependent on Volturi guidance. That explains why they're so desperate to destroy us, Jack said. We remember what the galaxy has forgotten. The command center shook violently as a direct hit struck nearby. Power fluctuated, and several systems went offline. Core stability at 15%, Laura warned. We can't sustain another direct hit. Move up the launch of the second ship, General Russell ordered. We need to save as many sleepers as possible. Outside, the battle intensified. Human soldiers had captured several Volturi vehicles and were using them against their former owners. The Volturi commander was clearly surprised by human adaptability, sending increasingly panicked messages to his superiors. The Volturi leadership is arguing, Olivia reported, intercepting their communications. Some want to retreat and contain us from orbit. Others demand complete destruction of the facility. If they pull back, we might save more sleepers, Jack said. Eliza had been quiet, studying the ancient records. There's more here. Before the wars, humans were developing a new form of faster-than-light travel, something called the Nexus Drive. It would have made Volturi control of trade routes obsolete. That was Dr. Hugh's project, Laura confirmed. She theorized that consciousness itself could be used to navigate hyperspace more efficiently. That's why they feared us, Jack realized. Not because we were violent, but because we would have freed the galaxy from their influence. The second hibernation ship launched during a brief pause in the bombardment. It slipped through the gap in Volturi defenses, accelerating toward the jump point where the first ship had escaped. On the communications channels, voices from across the galaxy debated the human question. For the first time in 5,000 years, the Volturi narrative was being challenged. We need to get this information to the Commonwealth Senate, Eliza insisted. The Volturi have been lying about human history for millennia. I have an idea, Jack said. He turned to General Russell. Sir, what about the emissary protocol? The general's expression changed. A desperate measure, Commander. What's the emissary protocol? Ben asked. A plan created before hibernation, Jack explained. If humanity needed to make contact with other species while most remained asleep, we would send representatives, people specifically trained to share our knowledge and history. The third hibernation ship can carry them, Laura suggested, along with copies of our complete historical records. Do it, General Russell ordered. Select the emissary team. Priority on historians, diplomats, and scientists. As they prepared for the third launch, Eliza knew they were witnessing a turning point in galactic history. The beast had not only awakened, it was about to roar. As the third hibernation ship prepared for launch, Dr. Laura Winters made a discovery that changed everything. She had been examining data recovered from Commonwealth archives, piecing together the true history that the Volturi had hidden. I found it, she announced, her voice tight with excitement. Proof of the Volturi deception. Everyone gathered around her screen. Laura had uncovered ancient records from before the human wars, diplomatic communications between Earth and various alien species. These records showed a very different story than the one taught by the Commonwealth. According to these files, humans were negotiating peace with most species, Eliza said, scanning the documents. There was no human aggression until after the Volturi blockade. The Volturi attacked first, Jack concluded. They initiated the conflict, then rewrote history to make us the villains. The most damning evidence came from scientific records about the Nexus Drive. Laura's findings confirmed that human scientists had been on the verge of a breakthrough that would have revolutionized interstellar travel, making it possible for smaller worlds to bypass Volturi-controlled trade routes. They feared our technology would end their dominance, General Russell said grimly. So they portrayed us as dangerous conquerors to justify our containment. "We need to get this information to the Commonwealth Senate," Ben insisted. "That's what the emissary team will do," Jack said. "But we need a more immediate solution to protect the remaining sleepers." The damage to the facility was growing more severe. The power core was barely stable, and Voltairy forces had pushed deep into the mountain complex. Only the determined resistance of awakened human soldiers kept them from reaching the central chambers where millions still slept. Eliza made a decision. "I'll go to the Senate personally. As a Commonwealth citizen, they must at least hear me." "Too dangerous," Jack argued. "The Voltairy will try to silence you." "I have contacts in the Science Council," Eliza replied firmly. "People who value truth over politics. If I can reach them with this evidence, they might intervene." The facility shook with another impact. Status alerts flashed across multiple screens. "Power core stability at 9%, Laura reported. "We have maybe 2 hours before complete failure." General Russell studied the tactical displays. "The Voltairy are pulling back from direct assault. They're preparing for a final bombardment to collapse the entire mountain." "What about the remaining sleepers?" Ben asked, looking at the vast chamber where millions of pods still glowed softly. "We can't save them all," Laura admitted, her voice heavy. "The third ship can carry 500,000. We have to choose." This impossible decision weighed on everyone. 5 million humans would remain in the facility, facing certain death if the mountain collapsed. "Wait," Jack said suddenly. "The facility's defensive systems, they were designed to withstand more than just attacks." Laura quickly accessed the original facility schematics. "You're right. The outer shell was built to survive extreme geological events. If we redirect all remaining power to the structural integrity fields, could it protect the sleepers through a bombardment?" Eliza asked. "Not indefinitely," Laura replied, "but possibly long enough for help to arrive, if you can convince the Senate to intervene." A plan formed quickly. The third hibernation ship would carry the emissary team and as many sleepers as possible. Meanwhile, Jack would lead a smaller group to the Voltairy command ship, using captured Voltairy shuttles. A direct assault on their command ship, General Russell questioned. "That's extremely high risk, Commander." "We only need to disrupt their bombardment long enough for the third ship to escape and for Eliza to reach the Senate," Jack explained. "And we'll take the evidence with us. Multiple paths to get the truth out." Olivia had been monitoring Commonwealth channels. "The Arcturan Federation is sending ships to investigate," she reported. "They're demanding the Voltairy cease fire until Senate representatives can assess the situation." "That gives us a window," General Russell nodded. "Prepare the third ship for immediate launch. Priority on the emissary team and critical historical records." Eliza worked with Ben to compile the most compelling evidence into a data package. Jack selected his strike team, 20 of Earth's best soldiers, now awake and ready for their most important mission in 5,000 years. "The captured Voltairy shuttles have their identification codes," Ryan explained, joining Jack's team. "We can approach their command ship without raising immediate alarms." Laura finished her calculations for the facility's defensive systems. With remaining power redirected, the stasis chamber should maintain integrity for approximately 72 hours, even under heavy bombardment. Time was running out. The third hibernation ship was loaded with the emissary team and as many sleeping humans as it could carry. Jack's strike team prepared their captured shuttle, equipped with the evidence that could change galactic history. Eliza would travel with the emissary team, carrying her Commonwealth credentials and the truth about humanity's past. 5,000 years ago, the Voltairy buried our civilization to protect their power, Jack said as they prepared to part ways. "Now we'll show the galaxy who the real threat has always been." Outside, the Voltairy fleet was positioning for their final attack. They had no idea that the humans they had tried to keep sleeping forever were about to awaken the conscience of the entire galaxy. The final battle unfolded across space and within the halls of power, 3 fronts that would determine the fate of humanity. In the mountain facility, Laura and General Russell directed the remaining defenders. They had redirected all power to the protective shields around the stasis chambers. Millions of humans still slept, unaware that their future hung in the balance. Structural integrity at maximum, Laura reported. If the calculations are correct, the sleepers should survive even heavy bombardment. For 72 hours, the general reminded her. After that, power failure is certain. Above the planet, the third hibernation ship launched, carrying the emissary team and 500,000 sleeping humans. Eliza stood on the bridge with the team of diplomats and historians chosen to represent Earth. They carried complete records of human history and evidence of the Volteri deception. Multiple ships approaching, the pilot warned. Volteri interceptors moving to block our path. Just as the Volteri ships prepared to fire, new vessels appeared. The distinctive blue-white engines of Arcturan ships flashed as they positioned themselves between the human vessel and the Volteri. "This is Admiral Kren of the Arcturan Federation," came a transmission. "By authority of the Galactic Accords, we demand cessation of hostilities until proper investigation can be conducted." The Volteri hesitated, unwilling to fire on Arcturan ships and risk bringing another powerful faction into the conflict. Meanwhile, Jack's strike team approached the Volteri command ship in their captured shuttle. Using valid identification codes, they docked without raising alarms. The 20 human soldiers moved with quiet efficiency through the ship's corridors. "Control room ahead," Ryan whispered, guiding them based on his knowledge of Volteri ship designs. "Heavy security presence." Jack nodded to his team. They had modified Volteri weapons to be more effective, another example of human adaptability. "Remember, our goal is to disrupt their communications and targeting systems. We need to buy time for the others." They struck quickly. The Volteri guards had no chance against soldiers trained in combat techniques forgotten for 5,000 years. Within minutes, Jack's team secured the command center. "Download everything," Jack ordered as his team accessed the Volteri computers. Every record, every communication about the human wars. What they found exceeded their expectations. The Volteri had kept detailed records of their deception, confident that no one would ever discover them. Files documented how they had manipulated other species, fabricated evidence, and engineered conflicts to frame humans as aggressors. "Send this to the Commonwealth Senate immediately," Jack ordered. "Broadcast on all channels." In the Grand Senate chamber on the Commonwealth capital world, Eliza stood before representatives of 200 species. The emissary team had successfully reached the Senate thanks to Arcturan protection. "Honored representatives," Eliza began, "for 5,000 years, you have been told that humans were monsters who needed to be contained. Today, I present evidence that this narrative was a lie crafted by the Volteri to protect their power." The Senate chamber erupted in shouts as the Volteri representatives tried to silence her. But Eliza continued, presenting the evidence Laura had discovered. As she spoke, additional data flooded in from Jack's team on the Volteri command ship. "The Volteri feared human innovation," Eliza explained. "Our civilization was developing technology that would have freed smaller worlds from dependence on Volteri-controlled trade routes." The Senate viewing screens displayed ancient records, authentic communications showing peaceful negotiations between humans and other species before the Volteri intervention. Most stunning were the Volteri's own secret records, now transmitted from their command ship. "For 5 millennia, the Volteri have suppressed technological advancement," Eliza continued. "They positioned themselves as protectors while ensuring all species remain dependent on them." The Arcturan admiral stepped forward. "We have confirmed the authenticity of these records. The Volteri have violated the most fundamental principles of the Commonwealth." Back at the Volteri command ship, alarms blared as reinforcements tried to retake the bridge. Jack's team had barricaded themselves, continuing to broadcast Volteri secrets to the galaxy. "They're cutting through the secondary doors," a soldier reported. Jack checked the transmission status. "We've sent enough. Time to leave." They fought their way back to their shuttle, facing increasingly desperate Volteri resistance. 3 humans fell in the retreat, but the rest made it to the shuttle and launched. Targeting systems coming online, Ryan warned as Volteri weapons locked onto their small craft. Before they could fire, the Volteri ship shuddered as blue energy beams struck its weapons arrays. Serious collective ships had arrived, joining the Arcturans in protecting the humans. In the Senate chamber, the vote was swift and decisive. The Volteri representatives were placed under guard. Emergency measures were approved to cease the attack on the human facility and provide assistance to the awakened humans. A delegation will be sent immediately, the Senate Speaker announced, to establish peaceful contact with humanity and offer reparations for past wrongs. 3 days later, a fleet of Commonwealth ships arrived at the mountain facility. They found General Russell and Laura waiting at the entrance, guarding the millions who still slept inside. The Senate has recognized humanity's sovereign right to exist, the Commonwealth ambassador announced, and acknowledges the historical injustice committed against your people. The remaining hibernation ships were soon launched, carrying their precious cargo of sleeping humans to a new world granted to them by Senate decree. There, the awakened would slowly revive their sleeping kin, rebuilding human civilization under the protection of the Commonwealth. 6 months later, Jack stood with Eliza on a hillside overlooking the first human city, built in 5,000 years. Behind them, construction teams worked on research facilities, where human scientists collaborated with Commonwealth researchers. The Nexus Drive project has been restarted, Jack said, watching ships land at the nearby spaceport. Laura says we'll have a working prototype within a year. Eliza nodded. The Commonwealth Science Council is still in shock at how quickly humans advance technology. They're calling it the New Renaissance. Below them, thousands of newly awakened humans explored their new home. Each day, more pods were carefully opened, bringing ancient skills and knowledge into a galaxy that had forgotten what humans could accomplish. They feared us for so long, Jack mused, called us beasts and monsters. And now? Eliza asked. Jack smiled as he watched a group of human children playing with young aliens from a nearby Commonwealth settlement. Now they're learning that the beast they feared can also create, build, and heal. That humans don't just survive. We help others thrive. In the night sky above, new stars appeared as ships arrived from across the galaxy, bringing visitors and diplomats eager to meet the legendary humans who had returned from 5,000 years of sleep. The beast had awakened, but instead of bringing destruction as the Volteri had feared, it offered the gift of innovation and a new future for all species. A future where humanity's remarkable spirit would help lead the galaxy into an age of unprecedented peace and discovery.